Hi, everybody. I see so many people I know and love here. This is just great. Um, and I lost my book. I am so happy to see you all tonight and to welcome Alison Owings and Del Seymour, two of my own personal heroes. First, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Alison. Um, Alison, uh, when I met Alison, I didn't know that she had been the person who put the words into the famous uh, newscasters' mouths. She's the one who made them smart. She 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 wrote news for Dan Rather, who, if you turn over your book, you'll see wrote a wonderful comment about the book. Walter Cronkite, Ed Bradley, Charles Kuralt. I mean, this woman, everything. If you were uh, watching the news back then, you didn't know that Allison was writing it all. But uh, Allison first came to us when she launched Frauen. The German women recall the Third Reich, and I saw copies of it even today on our counter. It won all kinds of awards, was a New York Times notable book, and really gave us the look into what German women were thinking about the war and after the war. Hey Waitress is one of my favorites from the other side of the tray. It definitely, if you hadn't really been big tippers before, I'm sure you would be after you read that. Indian Voices Listening to Native Americans. Uh, and this is, I know other people had written books about our Native American people, but Allison, as you know, she gets people talking. And it was a very personal, wonderful book. But uh, Allison has been listening to Del Seymour for years. I think they met in 2015, maybe. They'll tell us, correct me if I'm wrong. And as you know, Del is known as the mayor of the Tenderloin for good reason. He is a man who has changed his life and the lives of so many from his own recovery and years of homelessness and his own really pretty terrible life. You would not want your daughter to know that, Del Seymour. But to this, what he has done with his own life, what he has brought to the community, what he has done through Code Tenderloin. So I am very, very excited that the Chronicle has given this a rave review. Uh, this book has been already submitted for a major award. We're not supposed to know that, but Allison said I could tell you. I can't tell you the name of the award. So you are going to have this book first, and I'm so glad that you're part of this tonight, and I cannot wait to hear Del and Allison talking up here. Thank you all so much. Uh, now, who's getting that? Okay.
Hi. Wow. It's it's so nice to see familiar faces and also unfamiliar ones. And thank you, Elaine, for a great introduction. We're glad to be here, and it is going to be a bit ad hoc, which is the way Dell especially rolls. And I'm going to start with a little background of how this book came to be, but I want to say, first of all, I think it's a tragedy that this book, although I've always hoped from the beginning that it would be helpful, I'm sorry that it is needed. I'm sorry that there's so much homelessness in this country. And it's too bad that there is a need for a book like this, but there is, I believe. So I set about writing it, and it really will. Oh, a little closer. I know. I've never been in television news, of course. Um, because this tonight, this launch is our first event in a bookstore, especially this terrific bookstore. Um, I thought I'd really start at the beginning of how this book came to be, and I will read a couple paragraphs about how it came to be, and then turn it to Dell, who will explain how it really came to be from both of our parts. And so this is from the preface. And as we were saying earlier, we don't remember if we started this book in the Nixon or the Reagan administrations, but it's been an awfully long time. And it just pub date was 2 days ago, so we're really thrilled that it's finally here. And what I realized at some point is that there are something like, as of this writing, close to 750,000 people who are unsheltered, homeless in this country. And the question, so I'm reading just a little bit of this preface, the question of what well-funded federal and private institutions could and should do for them has morphed into the discomforting question of what we individuals with a home could and should do. For years, I took the question personally but defensively, rejecting options I felt incapable of following, such as inviting a stranger into my home. Other options felt like puny bandages, awkward gifts of a little money, a little food. For a long time, I considered using my oral history experience and my wariness about stereotypes to interview a countrywide range of homeless people, now commonly called unhoused or unsheltered people, then publishing the results, but feeling daunted by the very idea yet compelled by it. I wavered. In 1915, amid this dilemma, my husband, who's hiding in the audience there, reserved tickets to a friend's play in the Tenderloin about its drug scourge. The theater also offered a pre-matinee walking tour of the neighborhood for a $15 donation. Why not? We signed on. At the appointed hour outside Cutting Ball Theater on Taylor Street stood a gaggle of white people, including us, and a tall, lanky, energized, light-skinned older brother, as one of his friends describes him. That's Walter. The man, who several times did a head count and checked his watch, dressed with urban elan. He wore a fedora, a suit, polished dress shoes, and a T-shirt advertising Tenderloin Walking Tours. This is our guide, Del Seymour, then 68. Soon he led us down Taylor Street while saying in a manner that suggested the retelling of a familiar story. He had spent many crack-addicted years in the Tenderloin, but had gotten clean. We nodded and followed. At the intersection of Turk and Taylor Streets, he pointed out a block that once was a drug trafficking hub. To help stem the problem, he said, cars may no longer park there. The stretch looked like any scruffy urban street to me, but in Dell's memory, a different picture clearly prevailed. Gesturing toward the few pedestrians, he said he had often slept where they walked, then added, I could have gotten a PhD in sidewalks. That sentence, ablaze with pathos and humor, launched this book. So then I did some internet research and read about Dell and about long-time addiction and homelessness, and approached him, and I called and said, could we meet? And we did in Berkeley. He rejected the restaurants I'd eagerly scouted, Turkish and Burmese, and opted for the plainest, where he ordered soup. Soup kitchen familiarity, I thought. He later reproached me for using the phrase soup kitchen, which I had not known to be objectionable. Dining hall is more respectful. Over minestrone and crackers, I told him my plan, to write a book about homelessness from the point of view and experience of one person, him. Okay, sure, he said. So, Dell, what's your memory of those early times?
Well, first of all, good evening. I see some of our friends from San Francisco here. But right now I'm talking to people that are hosting us down here today and the people that live here. I got here about 3:30 because I'm a military nut as far as time. So I went and walked through your mall down the street a little bit. You know, my GPS said this place is 22 miles from San Francisco. This is 100,000 miles from San Francisco. At one time, San Francisco looked like this. It looked just like this. Union Square, North Beach, the Tenderloin, but it got out of control because instead of handling our business in San Francisco is a very political city. We made homelessness a political football. And it was money go thrown around and people pointing fingers at each other while Tyrone and Sheila laid on the street. Part of that football game. That no one centered on them. They were centered on each other. We're still doing it. We're the most funded city in the United States as far as homeless help. And we were just talking in the back room there a few minutes ago about in City Hall, the only people we keep from being homeless are our bureaucrats. Because all the money is going to City Hall. It's not going to Tyrone and it's not going to Sheila. And we can't figure out why there's still 10,000 people on our streets. We can't figure it out. While we got our average salary at City Hall is $245,000. Now maybe y'all down here don't think that's much, but that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Even for here, that's a lot of money. And where's it going? What are people doing? They're writing reports for each other. Here's my report to you. Give me yours. And we set quotas for success. We said we're going to house X amount of people and we'll put $15 million towards it. And at the end of 3 months, we haven't got nowhere near that number. Okay, Bob, try to do better next year. Make you a cake. Go have some coffee. You did a good job. Just try to be better next year. Where we had corporations doing this homeless work, it wouldn't be that. I mean, there's that one guy, and I'm not going to mention his name, you know, the big guy, the tech guy. If it were up to him, he would walk in. You didn't make your quota. You're out of here. Civil service won't do that. We keep the same people making the same irresponsible moves and not really care. We keep them on because they're civil service. Okay, Bob, you'll do better next year. And we just don't get it. We don't get the assistance. We have, and I told the mayor the other day, last week, we have 9,000 people on our streets. Because of COVID and the economy, we have 15,000 empty hotel rooms. Do the math. What's the big deal? Do the math. The amount of money we spend on Tyrone or Sheila, we could put them in the Hyatt in the penthouse every night. Because we're spending about $600 a night on every person laying on that street. When you count the 911, the police, the fire, the DPW, the case managers, that's about $600 a night for every homeless people. They talk about that busing thing. We could send everyone to Las Vegas or New York or wherever and give them $50,000, $70,000. Come back next year, you'll get another $70,000 and go back to Vegas. And we will save money. But we keep beating this horse, and the horse is dead. Leave it alone. Let's go to another horse. This one didn't work. And, we just keep going in circles, in circles. People ask me, does it look better down here? No. It looks the same. The same people that I laid out there on the streets with 15 years ago are still there. I walk by them today. So somebody's got to get mad. I guess we're not getting mad enough. We keep electing the same leaders who we know has a track record of not doing anything. And maybe instead of one leader making the decision, for example, most of the people that's laying on our streets or your streets have mental issues. and a lot of physical issues. I was walking today and everyone's got sores on their hand and sores on their legs. Why do we have a mayor running that? She's not a doctor. She's not a psychiatrist. And I'm not just saying her. Any mayor is not a psychiatrist. Any mayor is not a doctor. Why are you running this program? You should have nothing to do with it until the doctors and the experts say, okay, Miss Mayor or Mr. Mayor, we got to figure it out. We need X amount of dollars to fund this. And I don't have to explain to you what we're doing. We're a doctor. We know what we're doing. DPH, our medical experts in the city of San Francisco, Department of Public Health, they can't make any decisions about medical. And they're doctors. They're doctors with 20 and 30 years experience. It has to go through the mayor. Political football. So why, if I can figure it out and I'm not that sharp, why can't they figure it out? It's all about the Benjamins. You got it right, sir. All about the Benjamins. And Tyrone and Sheeta are suffering because it's all about more money, more money, more money. We're a scandal-laced city, unfortunately. We got one of our biggest corruption incidents today in the history of San Francisco that ain't gonna be no better. We don't know who we're getting for mayor next, if we're gonna get somebody different, and it kind of looks like it after the day we are. But no one has, and every one of the candidates are very good friends of mine, and they come to me or I go to them. We go out to lunch. No one has come to me and said, "This is the way I'm going to do it." So yes. You endorse for mayor? Oh, I'm not political. No, they're all friends of mine. Nobody. 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 I think with the homeless crisis we got now, I would entertain a medical professional or a mental health professional because 90% of our problems is mental health. So why wouldn't you have a mental health professional running this? Because the way the city charter goes, you can say where the mayor, whoever the mayor is, can appoint a homeless director. You appoint a homeless director, but you're still running him. You're still making all the decisions. He can't do nothing on his own. He's got to get everything approved by the mayor's office. So why even have these directors who are making $300,000? Every one of our directors are making $300,000. Why can't you paying a guy or a woman $300,000 and she can't make a decision? Man, something's wrong with it. You can get a $70,000 clerk if you're not going to let them make decisions. So I've talked enough. I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. Well, you can imagine that it was really hard to interview Del because he had nothing to say. So at one point, when Del got clean, he started something called Tenderloin Walking Tours, as I mentioned. And in the course of running the Tenderloin Walking Tours, he met a lot of people who said, "Why are you bringing these white people through our neighborhood? Don't you know that we don't want to be out here dealing? We'd like some straight jobs, but we can't get any because Apple won't hire us." That's sort of that in a nutshell. And so Del decided to start something called Code Tenderloin. And as he has said many times, it had nothing to do with coding. It had to do with the hospital code. Code blue, code green, code red. We're in trouble. We're dying. So he decided to start an organization to train people who had, in many cases, never had a straight job before or a legal job, and give them free job readiness courses. So I'm just going to read one paragraph that leads into this. To recruit students, he simply went on the streets, as he put it. His search did not take long. Virtually all candidates wanting a straight job were homeless. Almost all had criminal convictions. What Del offered for free was a program meant to launch them not only into jobs, but also careers. The felony factor remained a concern, but he tackled that too, finding employers open to hiring vetted candidates. One later Code Tenderloin online ad referred to removing barriers, stating, "Previous history with difficult issues such as substance abuse, mental health, education level, personal finances, or criminal record does not disqualify you from securing work." Classes would include what became a standard, mock job interviews. For the initial set of classes several days a week for 4 weeks, Del signed up about 10 people. Funding for such incidentals as modest snacks offered at the first classes came from contributions to the walking tours he had been giving a few years. "I'm broke," he said matter-of-factly. One line he repeated to various audiences was, "Sue me because I've got no money." His stylish-looking outfits came from thrift stores. A fact kept fairly private within Code Tenderloin was how much he helped students anyway, giving them money not only for transportation and cell phones, but also for food, childcare, and sometimes even rent. "Everything to make them competitive," said Dell one day, "whatever they need. And we do that not only until they get a job, but at least a month after they're on the job so they can save those paychecks and get permanent housing." Additionally, students in difficult circumstances, sometimes with babies in tow, were found places to stay, including with Dell. The word got out. People at Code Tenderloin care. One woman who phoned looking for a class was asked whether she was safe, whether she was hungry. For classroom space, the three owners of a new scrappy nightclub, restaurant performance space in the Tenderloin called Piano Fight, whom Dell befriended on his walking tours, donated day use of 2 rooms used in the evening for ragtag theatrical productions. The trio also offered day use of Piano Fight's main floor area. And so Tenderloin Walking Tours began around 2015 and 16. And do you want to talk about some of the successes and challenges?
Well, she mentioned incarcerated folks. My number 2, my number 3, my number 4 directors at Code Tenderloin have been accused of murder. In total, all 3 of them did over 100 years on death row. And that's my number 2, number 3, and number 4 person at the organization. I'll tell you one thing, I don't argue with them, okay? So I respect them. I do not get in an argument with them. But no, and that's just a joke. They're the loveliest people. You would never know they've even stepped on a peanut in their life. Well, you never know they offended anybody. You know when, I don't know how, I got probably a total of 30 to 40 ex-offenders working, men and women. And for some reason, when they come to me, they all got the same line, like they learn it or they rehearse it, but I don't think so. They all come to me, the first thing is, Dale, help me out. I don't want to go back. And they have turned out to be our best employees. Because someone that just walks in off the street, yeah, okay, whatever. Now these men and women, they want to do everything they can not to go back. They'll come to me in the middle of the night and say, "Hey man, can I come crash over? Me and my lady didn't get along well, and I don't want to, no chance, I'm gonna put a hand on her. Because I don't want to go back." Because most of my top line offenders, they're out on the strict parole. One thing, you gone. Now you're going to do the rest of it, which is life. So it's an advantage to have people like that. And I just want to mention some real quick offline, not offline, I don't know what that means. But we would not probably be together here tonight if it wasn't for my wonderful friend, Leah Garchick, who I met on a tour years ago and was first to put me headlines in the San Francisco Chronicle. We've been on each other for a long time. Yeah, so you had a question?
Well, just in reference to what you were saying earlier about why the situation is the way it is, there's a homeless shelter group I took their consultation, and they are now consulting in 47 states across our country and 6 other countries with their homeless shelter program that houses people for $7,000 a year.
Wow.
And about 6 months ago, I saw a video where Governor Gavin Newsom stood up and said, "It costs the state of California $220,000 per year per person to help homeless people." And then, what, about 2 months ago, 3 months ago, he had to stand up and say, "Oh, we're sorry, but we lost the $24 billion that we had set aside for helping homeless people since 2021. They just didn't keep track where the money went. Sorry, $24 billion. How does anyone lose even $1 billion?
Well,
24 of them.
I'll speak for San Francisco. Our leaders, our ballers and shakers think they're the smartest people in the world. And they give you this thing, well, we're the Bay Area, we're Silicon Valley, we're San Francisco. We got cars that drive by themselves. Ain't no one even in the car. We got a rocket that'll go up, go around the moon 2.5 times, come down and land on a nickel on a boat. No, you're not. You're the stupidest people I've ever ran into when you can't. You know what this is over here? This is sheetrock. Sheetrock. I was at Home Depot the other day. It's $3 a sheet. What's the big deal? Put some sheetrock over Tyrone's head. It's $3 a sheet. Forget about that rocket. Forget about that Waymo. Why can't you put sheetrock over someone's head, man? It ain't that big of a deal. It really ain't that big of a deal. If are you trying to keep this situation like it is for your benefit, job security? I think sometimes. I wonder sometimes. Because it makes no sense to me what we do. We just keep going backwards. We'll try something for a week. Oh, well, that didn't work. That didn't work. Give it some time. Give it some time. Nothing. Rome wasn't built in a day. Give it some time. Give our program 6 months. It may not look right at the beginning. You got to get people used to it. If I ask you right now to come and stay in this building, it's going to take you a while to get used to it. You may not come home every night because you're just tired of it. But after a while, you'll get used to it. We gotta let people get used to it. Yeah, ain't nothing gonna be perfect, but it sure beats what's out there now.
Amen. And I wondered if you could talk a little about some of the people who've gone through Code Tenderloin and their lives have changed because they have the skills to take a straight job. They have confidence. They have some stability in their lives, and all the related reasons to that. They're doing much better. Do you want to give a few examples?
Well, let me give a general example first. Everyone, I don't care who you are, everyone still likes to be thanked and appreciated. That's normal human behavior. If you didn't, there's something wrong with you. But so everyone, I ride the bus a lot, and Leah knows we don't have the best bus system up here. Down there, but I ride the bus a lot because I'm lazy. I only walk so far, and I'll get on the bus, and some guy or lady will come and sit next to me and start just babbling about their house. Oh, my house is so beautiful, and I just went and got new furniture, and my boss loves me. I love my boss. And I said, why do I'm trying to get on my phone and stuff. Why are you telling me all this? And she'll say, Dale, you got me that house. You got me that job. You don't remember me. I said, no, I really don't. So you got me that house 5 years ago. You don't remember? And maybe I will, but I just don't have a good memory of so many people. And I can't replicate that. I really can't. And to see people that look so good now, that came out of our program. And as I tell people, it's about the numbers. If I help 10 people, each 10 people got 4 relatives depending on them now. So that's 40 people that was helped, or maybe even more, maybe 80 people. But it goes along. And now I got people calling in, want to help other people. Hey, man, there's an apartment next door to me vacant. You want me to tell my landlord you're going to send somebody over? Heck yeah. So, but we got people. We had one lady, and I think this is in the book. Now I'm trying to think of a name from Microsoft. Shelley Winters. So she did 16 years in prison or something like that. 16 years in prison for meth, big time meth dealer. And she got out one day, and the next day she came to us, and we started her in that class, a coding class, and we went to visit Microsoft. We do campus visits. So we went to visit Microsoft. Someone there fell in love with her. Says, hey, we'll hire you. And she that time she was only out maybe 3 weeks, but not wanting to go back. She applied, and she went through 7 different interviews in San Francisco. Boom, boom, boom. Maxed everyone because she's such a wonderful lady. And they says, okay, you're hired. You'll start Monday morning on marketing 6 and at Microsoft. And we just got to send your paperwork up to Seattle just to get the final stamp. It got up to Seattle, and they said, hell no, are you crazy? We don't hire no convicts. We're dealing with computers and internet and all that BS. She called me up in tears. The Dale, they didn't hire me in Seattle, but I'm going to fight them. I said, baby girl, you can't fight Microsoft. They got 3,000 lawyers at least. At least. You can't offer people the work. You can't fight Microsoft. No, I'm going to fight them. I said, no, you're not. I'm not going to let you get disappointed again. I just heard your tears. I don't want to hear your tears again on Monday when they say absolutely not. She said, no, I'm not going to obey you, Dale. And I said, okay, crazy girl. She's just going to get, I don't want to lead her back into use by having a big disappointment. She got in touch with Microsoft that day. It was a Friday that morning. And she let them know about the Ban the Box Act that we have in San Francisco and California, where you can't ask people about your backgrounds until a later time. And if your background crime has nothing to do with your job, they cannot deny the job. By Friday afternoon, they call and says, yes, you'll start Monday. And she tells people the story. She's on, you can look her up on the internet. Her job now with Microsoft is making $175,000, going all around the world telling her story. Going to all the HRs of Microsoft all around the world, telling them how she got her job and stayed with it. And she's got TED Talk. You can look her. What's her spelling?
Winner. Shelley Winner.
How do you spell it?
Winner.
Okay.
And actually, she told me on the street one day about Microsoft. I think we were just talking at that cafe in on Valencia. And she said about Microsoft firing me, she said, they should have noticed I was pretty good at sales.
Right. That's a great story. I could sit here all night and tell you success stories. We got people working all around the world in media, NBC, New York, at CNN, at Facebook, LinkedIn, Apple, Twitter, Microsoft, Dolby. Man, I could just go on and on and on. Mm-hmm. Jack Dorsey, who's a friend of mine, came over to my office and looked around and he says, Dale, what do you need? Now, I'm talking to a billionaire. I'm broke, not young, well, I could say it, yeah. Broke young black man talking to a billionaire. And he's asking me, what do I need? Duh. What you got? I know what you got. And so he says, what do you need? Just tell me. Now, I'm talking to a billionaire, so I don't want to blow it, right? I don't want to lowball because I might blow the chance to have gotten more money. But I don't want to highball him either because I don't want to make him mad, right? I don't want to be greedy. So I says, well, we could probably use about $50,000. And he says, $50,000? He says, you think I'm going to give a nonprofit $50,000? I said, oh, I done blew it. I done messed up. He said, we're going to start at $1 million. And then he started calculating. He said, I'm going to give you 1.6. And he did. The next day he wrote a check out. So that shows that we try to demonize the tech community, and a lot of times righteously so. But this being techies is a new occupation, a new dream, and no one knows how to be a techie. No one knows how to give. They just don't know. We had to go over and tell them how to be typical people, because they are weird. The reason why San Francisco is so broke economically, techies be on their laptop from 9 to 5. At 5 o'clock, they go home and get on their other laptop. They don't go out to dinner. They DoorDash everything. They're just not normal folks. They're into that piece of plastic. So, we got to learn how to do that better as retail operators. We got to learn how to make our city more accessible and friendly to techies.
And actually, I was thinking not only has Code Tenderloin taught a lot of people to be techies, but not exactly the same kind of techies, but they have done so much else for other people. In fact, I called Donna Hilliard, who runs Code Tenderloin now, the executive director, and I said, I'm just trying to get a statistic. Roughly how many people has Code Tenderloin helped? And she said, well, at least 10,000. And I thought, oh, but she just couldn't count from then, because Code Tenderloin not only teaches people how to get and keep a straight job, but they also give out all kinds of supplies, gifts, help. And
we gave away We gave away 140 laptops last week. 140.
And that's not counting even such things as clothing, and clean socks, and Narcan, and helping people on the streets, and having a van to deliver people in distress to a hospital. So there's a lot more even than jobs that Code Tenderloin's doing. But I think just because I have to be a little aware of time, I thought maybe, and we're going to have Q&A at the end, that we could talk a little bit about an earlier chapter in Dell's life when he was not the successful person you see right in front of you. He was successful in different ways, but he was, let me just set this up a little. We'll go to Fresno here, okay? In the early years of Dell's addiction and homelessness, he lived mostly in the Bay Area as far as he could remember, but moved around too. A web search states that in 1994, for example, his addresses included San Francisco, Oakland, Fresno, and Sacramento. Scenes Dell remembered or cared to relate from that time reveal various moods of ebullience, despair, entrepreneurship, pique, hope, as well as comedy and tragedy masquerading as each other. One such episode took place in Fresno, a city known for its sprawl, heat, agriculture-based economy, and according to Dell, lawlessness. From whatever straight job he had been getting unemployment benefits, but in a bureaucratic snafu, his account closed. I'm not broke, I'm super broke, but I'm using drugs. My drug dealer, who I've known for a while, he's giving me credit. My credit is blossoming up to a couple $1,000s. My drug dealer is also a straight gangster. He'll shoot you in the head in a minute without any cause. After calling the Fresno office of the State Employment Development Department several times a day, fighting and arguing, Dell learned the problem had been solved. A check for $7,000 would be delivered by mail the next day. Dell called his dealer with the news. He said, "I'm so glad you made this call because I was making arrangements to have you killed."
Yeah.
"Oh, yeah," Dell said. "I would have wound up in one of the vineyards because they do it all the time. Fresno don't play." He says, "Well, you want some dope? Because let me bring you some so you can have a little something for tonight." Dell looked relieved even decades later, and the next day, the dealer picked Dell up in the countryside where he lived in the home of a retired drug dealer, parked near Fresno's Chandler Airport to intercept Dell's usual mailman on his route. When they spotted him, he said it would write back. Okay.
Let me put a little more
Yeah.
reality. Not that you're not real. So anyway, the drug dealer came by and picked me up 8 o'clock in the morning. Because the EDD told me definitely EDD is in Fresno, and they said we put your check in the mail early this morning. It'll definitely be at your house tomorrow. So I got in touch with my mailman, who always do. He starts downtown. I live in the country. He starts downtown. He says, if you ever need your mail early, just meet me downtown. And he gave me the route. So we drove downtown. We went and got some 40 ounces. It's 100 degrees in Fresno. We go downtown, we see the mailman, and I said, "Hey, man." And he said, "Hey, Dale, I got something for you. I think I got something that you want." I said, "Right on." So I look at my drug dealer. I said, "See, man, I told you we got this." Because he was going to kill me that day. I said, "I got this." So we went and parked. No, we went and found the mail truck because he walks blocks down the front. So we went and found where the mail truck was. So we parked like this, mail trucks parked like that, about at that last seat. We're 30 feet away. And we're sitting there, and I'm just so overjoyed because I'm going to have the biggest party in the world tonight. Because even after I paid the drug dealer, I got $3,000 or $4,000 left. So I'm going to have the biggest party in Fresno. I'm going to have all the, whatever you might want to imagine, I'm going to have all of that. Believe me, piles of dope, everything. So we're sitting there, and I just can't wait. I'm shaking because I'm getting ready to have the biggest party in my life. And I hear an airplane. The airport's right on the other side of that glass. What was it? Chandler Airport. I'm sitting there and I hear this airplane. Whoa, whoa, whoa. But no big deal. We're by the airport. But the sound wasn't right. And all of a sudden, woo, woo, boom, into the mail truck. True story. Unfortunately, true story. Catches on fire with my check in it. I run over it and start pulling boxes out. Now the pilot, he's over here crawling down the street because he survived. Idiot ran out of gas, but he's over here crawling. I ain't worried about him. I'm worried about my check. So I'm gonna start pulling boxes out. The airport security comes over and grabs me and throws me on the ground. Says this is a federal crime scene. FAA, you can't touch nothing in it. I said, Mama, he said, I don't care, you can't touch nothing in there. There was a fire truck doing a school inspection right behind my car, and they ran over and started putting the fire out. But you know what my drug dealer told me? If I hadn't have been here and seen him, and nowhere in the world you could have called me and said the mail truck blew up. I would have came over and shot you myself. He said, usually I hire people to kill people, but I would have came over and killed you myself with that bullshit. And then I tried to get my check replaced. Every time I called EDD, I said, hey, my name is Del Seymour. I need a replacement check. Why? Because the airplane hit the mail truck. Click. They hung on me for 2 weeks, so I changed the story because I had to tell them a civil story rather than that story. They wouldn't believe it no more. Let me tell you.
Well, that gives you an idea.
I should have.
An idea of some of what is in the book. And I think it's maybe time to ask you all if you have any questions.
Yeah.
Yes, they're saying yes and looking at watches. And someone's going to walk around with a microphone.
There you go. Yeah, she's fast.
Yeah.
So this very interesting. Is it on?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you say San Francisco isn't solving the problem. Is there? Do either of you know of any city in the United States that's making better progress?
Yeah, San Antonio, Texas. San Diego is doing wonderful. Baltimore, Maryland. Detroit is doing wonderful. Chicago looks good. You can walk. I'm in Chicago all the time. You can walk around Chicago all day long and not see anything that will bother you. Yeah, really, really. They do it right. They have. See the difference between here and Chicago is that a lot of the faith-based organizations, the real ones, Salvation Army, Catholic Charities, all of these run gigantic shelters where they have all those specialized rooms, and they've been doing it for. When I grew up in Chicago, we had homeless. They've been doing it for 100 years since the Depression, so they know what they're doing. They know how to do it, and it's cold back there. They got the real compassion. They just know what they're doing, and we don't know what we're doing. You know, when I take kids out on my tours, I take them through the Tenderloin and I tell them, you all need to really watch what you're doing on this tour. Because it's up to you now. We can't do it. I'm 77 years old. Most of the people in the homeless community, I chair the homeless board at City Hall, been a chair for 10 years. And our hands are tied. We can't really do what we want to do. So it's up to the youth. Maybe no one in this room can. Maybe, I don't know. But I know the youth can. The tech community can. Because if we handle this like a business, we wouldn't let our money go the way it goes. Next question. Okay. Or comment. If you just want to make a comment, that's fine. I'd love to hear from y'all.
So the people in San Francisco and surrounding communities, we all know what goes on in Marin when they're trying to build a building and do all that. How do you fix that problem? Because nobody wants. The mayor tried to open that sober housing and the border of Chinatown and North Beach, and they shut it down. Nobody wants that kind of facility in their neighborhood.
So what? You don't own the whole block.
I
See,
agree.
You don't own. These people think they own the whole block. You don't. You own your house, lady. Leave us alone on the corner.
But
Would you rather have someone pissing on your door or pissing in the shelter next door? That's basically.
I completely agree, but I see it all the time in the city where nobody and people I know, they don't want, and it's incredibly frustrating.
Well, we got to get rid of this one law we got or charter or ordinance. One person can stop a project. And believe me, there's always one person who's going to stop a project, and that delays it for a year.
Yeah.
Okay, in the back.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here to hear you because homelessness is one of my, because I have a son who's homeless in New York right now,
Okay.
unhoused, and he's college educated, but one of the things that we're dealing with is the cost of housing. So not just, it's so often that we just don't talk about how the skyrocketing cost of housing has pushed people out of their homes. And if I'm just wondering if you could speak to that part of it as well.
Well, I know we need to raise rent control, bring rent control back. But I'm gonna tell you something. Say a very controversial statement, and if you all don't like it, I'm sorry. But everybody can't live in San Francisco. Everybody can't live in Corte Madera. It's not that kind of party. You got to realize I can't live in San Francisco. I'll need to go to Oakland. It's only 10 minutes away. I'll need to go to Antioch. It's only a half an hour away by BART. And just realize you can't live in the, if you make $5,000 a month, you can't pay $5,000 a month. You need to go to Antioch where you'll pay 18 and get a nice place. You just got to get on that damn BART. But that's part of not having the wealth. Everybody can't be wealthy. You can't live next to Elon Musk. You can't. Well, he don't even live nowhere, so I can't use him. You had a question? Oh, she's coming. Okay. You fast.
I mentioned I mentioned previously that there's this group in another state that developed a superlative homeless shelter program. Then they're housing people at $7,000 a year, and so I did their consultation myself, and combined with the trauma release work system that I trained in, that resolves PTSD in 15 to 20 session hours on average, proved in a major university study. Well, I developed a new model of homeless shelter, combined homeless shelter and rehabilitation program, and I've been working on my own to try to get that started, but I had no support, even talking here in Marin to some of the people that help homeless people and have been, they said, for like 6 years and dealing with City Hall and all that. So I got so frustrated I didn't know how to keep going. And last week I had a business consultation with a business mentor from a mentoring organization. So I'm doing my homework for them for them to help me figure out my marketing and promotion strategies and fundraising and all this. And anyway, so I've been trying to get that going myself, and then I was thinking it over, and I'm trained as a screenwriter and in film production, and tried to get projects going with my professor, a couple of them, and so I've developed a documentary film project on this too, tied together with it. And there's a guy in Los Angeles who a friend of mine here in Marin told me I should talk with him, and I talked with him, and he's got a incredible film on homelessness and that he's developing on people that became homeless that were successful otherwise, and then they had whatever happened in their lives and they took a downward spiral. One guy was a engineer making six figures a year, and then he had a back injury, and then he had surgery that was botched, and then COVID happened. He couldn't get medications. He started getting drugs on the street to self-medicate, and it went down from there. Circumstances like that. And I don't have my program enough far along yet for him to come and shoot a day of footage of me. He wants to include me in his film, so I'm just kind of still trying to get things going.
Well, what you can do is get with an organization that's already in this. I hate to use the word industry because that's what the media uses, but that's already in this industry and already got some funds lined up. Because starting out, it'll take you probably 10 years to get where Salvation Army is or Code Tenderloin. Because it took us, we started out with two people. As said in the book, I ran Code Tenderloin out of the trunk of my car. I was doing resumes in the back seat. So it takes a while. I was running out my Social Security check. So it takes a while to get all the coordination, but you got to find someone that will, you can go, no, 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 no. Then somebody's, okay. And you can't stop after the fifth person. You got to keep going. And as he says, homelessness, probably at least 50% of the homeless folks in San Francisco were successful lives until something happened. Something happened. Yes, ma'am. She's ringing the mic. She should play for the Raiders. She's faster than everybody on the Raiders, I tell you that.
Thank you. Thanks.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask Alison, every book of yours that I've enjoyed, read, absorbed so far has been with multiple people. This time it was one-on-one. I'm sure you interviewed a lot of other people too, but I just wanted to ask you about the experience of honing in on one special person and taking all the years that you have taken to really come to an understanding of this person and what he does.
Well, I could have planted that question. Thank you.
Yeah.
As I explained in the preface, I did consider going all over the country and interviewing people who are unsheltered. And I'm a freelance editor as well, as maybe you know. And I have this mantra as an editor and as a writer, which is in its basest form, consider the poor reader. And I was thinking that readers don't want to read a book that has nothing but unhappy endings. Everyone ends up being unsheltered. So I thought that's not going to work. And also the whole idea sounded exhausting, and it would be difficult to keep in touch with people because people who experience homelessness don't necessarily aren't always that easy to find for follow-up questions. And I always have, as Del knows, I always have follow-up questions, years of follow-up questions. Yeah. And so when I met Del and he said that sentence about I could have gotten a PhD in sidewalks, I thought, here's someone who has been homeless, and he's clearly not now. And he's also someone who has a sense of humor, which is next to godliness in my family of origin and every other family I've ever been close to. And so having humor and then the pathos of that meant he'd been on the sidewalks a long time. That drew me to him. And I thought I don't want to say that he would be a typical homeless person because nobody is typical. Yeah. But that's a human story that people maybe could identify with, one person. And I also interviewed, thanks to Del, I interviewed about 20 other people in his orbit. I interviewed 2 of his adult daughters, and I interviewed his the man he calls his sobriety buddy, and I interviewed one of his crack dealer, and I interviewed a Tenderloin captain, and I interviewed a psychiatrist and a psychiatric social worker, and other people who were in Del's life, an ex-girlfriend, and someone who helped him along the way. And one of those people, actually, Marie Dugan, who owned Trader Joe's. Original
Joe's. She owns all the Original Joe's.
Original Joe's, yeah. And she very much helped Del because he helped her fix her sump pump at night when the restaurant was falling apart. And that's one of the chapters, one of the more moving chapters, I think, because she said she just brought him back. She appreciated him as a normal person. And but these 20 other people help make up the fabric of the book, even though it's focused on Del.
I can tell you one story about when you're talking about people being professional before or having a successful life. So I was actually, when Original Joe's burnt, I actually took over the building with my partner. And so we were in the Original Joe's spot there in the Tenderloin. And some of y'all have been there. Leah's definitely been there. And so I would get there about 6 a.m. to open up. And every morning it would be this guy, this really scruffy looking guy, sleeping in his car. So once I got the door open and the lights on, I would go out and say, hey, bro, why don't you come in and clean up and use the bathroom? And he said, oh, thank you. So he would come in every morning, and rough looking guy. And he would come in and wash down and, do whatever he needed to do before my students got there. So one day he came in and he says, Dale, I'm going to tell you something. I said, okay. He says, I'm a doctor. I said, okay, that's okay. I'm Donald Trump. And he says, no, I'm really a doctor. I said, no, I'm really Donald Trump. You're going to tell me some bullshit like that, right? I'm going to keep saying what I got to say. Turns out he was a doctor. He had a practice in Beverly Hills, psychiatrist, taught 21 years at UCLA, had his practice in lived in Beverly Hills. And, Beverly Hills ain't San Francisco. So what he was a psychiatrist to the movie stars. He would determine whether in a child custody case of movie stars, if the baby goes to the daddy or the mama. Now, when you have to make that decision, you're pissing somebody off every time and making someone else happy. Well, he pissed not Mel Brooks. What's the guy that Danny Glover's partner? Mel Gibson. He pissed Mel Gibson out real bad. So Mel Gibson hired a private detective to try to find something on this doctor. All they could find was an old Facebook with the doctor's. The doctor was in what do you call those?
So, Lederhosen, or he
No,
was, he was in
the what? No, what the Cowboys wear?
chaps.
He had a picture of him at Chaps, because he's LGBT. He had Chaps at an LGBT.
Chaps.
Yeah, at a party, which ain't no big deal in San Francisco. Everybody wears Chaps. You know, it wouldn't be no big deal up here, but not in Beverly Hills, most conservative town in the United States probably. And he didn't lose his license, but he lost his practice. No one wanted him around kids, even though there was no, they're putting homosexuality together with LGBT, or child predator and it has no connection at all. So he wound up living in his car in front of Code Tenderloin. So after that, we brought him in. We got him cleaned up. We got him clothes. We got him an apartment. And we started taking him around, introducing him to people, Department of Public Health, and other places where he could get referred to get a job. And he was so broken. This is a guy that they'll look at my book, and he's got pages of going all around the world doing psychiatry. And he said, look, I'm living in my car, so depressed. And I tried to get him out of that depression. And I would take him around the city hall, to the mayor's office, to the churches, and I would try to introduce him. And he said, hi, my name is Joe. And I finally said, no, your name is Dr. Joseph Keenan. You spent too many years in school to introduce yourself as Joe. And when I convinced him of that, he stood up taller. He gained 2 inches. And we would take him, I'm Dr. Joe Keenan. And man, within weeks, he got his own practice in the Castro. He got him a condo in the Castro. Then he branched out to Las Vegas, where he is now. He's got a practice in Las Vegas and a condo. My director went to just see him last week because he's not doing health-wise very well right now. And I was going to go out, but I wasn't feeling good either. But that's just one example. Who's making $600,000 a year, coming out of his car in front of Code Tenderloin. I could tell you stories all night. If you asked me to tell a bad story, I would have to think for a while. Thank God I would have to think for a while, but I can rattle off the good ones. Did you? Oh, we got a question back there. Okay.
Yeah, I was wondering, you said Chicago was successful with the homeless problem, but they had 100 years of experience. But you also mentioned San Diego, and I was wondering what was the reason for San Diego's success?
Because they qualify compassion as, a lot of people say compassion, just leave them alone. But compassion is when I know you got a problem, I don't get off your ass. You're going to come with me, bro, and we're going to fix this. That's compassion, because you won't fix it. You don't know how to fix it. You don't want to fix it. So it's up to me, and that's compassion, because I love you. I love you enough. I'm going to grab you, and I'm going to drag you until you get... No, ain't no such thing as tough love. Either you're tough or you love. You can't use those words in the same sentence. I'm sorry, I'm a big thing on that word tough love, because like the mayor, she got a twist about that tough love. This is, I'm trying to get you some direction. I want you to listen to me, and this is what you need to do, because you ain't doing it. I saw you last week. You were still messed up last week as you are today. So it's time for us to talk. Time for us to do something. Okay, get out the pity potty. Everybody's been through this. And the good thing about me, I can tell them that I went through it. I didn't do this off no PhD or PDH or whatever those words are behind it. I did this by laying on those streets, getting shot, stabbed in my leg, going to jail, 12 felonies. That's how. So you don't talk about, Dale, you don't know what I'm going through. Yes, I do. Been there, done it, and look at me now. And people say, oh, you think you're all that? Yes, I do. Hell yeah, I think I'm all that. Yes, I do.
Okay. Dell is pretty good with the out cue. I think that'll wrap it up for us. Yeah. Yeah.
Are extraordinary. And Allison, for giving us this story. I mean, the two of you together, I feel like all of us got a massive education tonight and also a massive uplift. You are uplifting to listen to, both of you. So thank you. We're going to